Hello everyone, Trophy Wine Hunter. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm reviewing a wine that subscribers are quite familiar with because I've reviewed a couple of their bottles. This is A&P Villaine's 2018 Mercurey Les Montots. And I have reviewed a number of these bottles because I believe this bottles or this winery represents the best of Burgundy. People say, oh, Burgundy, Romanée, DRC. The problem being is no one has that type of money to drink Romanée and DRC every day. So kind of people are just talking, but they're not really drinking this stuff. Of course I know this. If you could drink DRC every day, great, but no one does that, okay? So the second camp is people saying, well, I don't like Burgundy. That's because you got to find good quality Burgundy. And so in between there's lots of great Burgundies. You just got to search them out, and this winery provides the best of Burgundy. It's unpretentious. It's not going to be your high-end label, but it's good quality Burgundy. If you want to learn about Burgundy, drink these type of wines. Don't just look at the magazines and go, well, I got to drink Romanée, I got to drink, Grand Cru. No, you just got to drink good stuff. I'm a big fan of this winery, and I'll tell you why. So it was started by Aubert de Villaine and his wife Patricia, so A&P Villaine. And they established this winery in 1970 when he bought about 8 hectares of land. So Aubert de Villaine is the director of Domaine Romanée-Conti, DRC. And so this is his family winery. So of course he knows how to make great wines. And of course he probably knows how to pick great vineyards. So that's what he's done. He's picked a great vineyard in what we call inexpensive region. So this is go with people that are knowledgeable, that actually know what they're talking about, instead of, just going for the flash. Everyone again knows Richebourg, great place, La Tâche, great, but that's not what everyone drinks. So we got to be realistic about things and not talk over our heads sometimes. That's what I find a lot of people say, well, the Grand Cru, but that's not what people drink. And in fact, many people never drink this stuff. Let's get more down to earth and just drink talk about things that actually people can drink on a daily basis or on a weekly basis. So this is one of these wines. So when he bought this vineyard site, it was very run down, and he took it over and then restored it. It was actually used in the 12th century by monks of the abbey of Cluny to plant vines. And so it does have a track record of producing quality wines and grapes. It's just it needs that certain person to know how to do this. And again, this is a region. This is not a high end region. It's Mercurey. What is this? Why are you recommending this wine? Because it's great. So again, get away from all this pretense and just go with wines that are great. It does not have to read Grand Cru to be great in Burgundy. It does not have to be expensive to be good Burgundy wine. However, it's true when you spend a little bit more money and when you're in Grand Cru sites, you're going to have a better chance of having a good experience. But you weigh that with cost. Grand Crus, or even Premier Cru in great Burgundy sites is going to be astronomically expensive. And this wine is probably under $100 in most places in the US. Very affordable. I mean, it's not cheap, but it's a pretty decent price and still within reach for most people. So this is basically in the Cote Chalonaise region. I've done videos on that. Cote Chalonaise and Macon are the two lesser regions of Burgundy. They don't get the star hype, but they're very good drinking regions if you can find the right sites and if you kind of do your research. Mercurey is one of the sites in Cote Chalonaise, and Les Montots is a special vineyard. It's not a Premier Cru site, but that doesn't mean that it can't make great wines. And this is the example great quality and kind of not just generalizing. And I've done this also in, with other things like Liwas, Bourgogne wine, or Rouleau's Bourgogne wines. Those are just simple wines, but they're still spectacular and sometimes better than a lot of Premier Cru wines because the producer is great and they take a lot of quality and they know where to pick the sites. Where sometimes, we have producers that are maybe not as caring and not as good, and they have a great site historically, but they probably haven't used it to its full potential. So I just encourage people not to get caught up in the hype of Burgundy. People are kind of very opinionated Burgundy. Some people, I hate it. It's so expensive. Well, no, this stuff is not that expensive. Or they'll say spectacular, and they'll throw off all these names. It's like, but no one drinks those wines. I'm sorry. Like, a lot of people collect them, but very few people drink them on a very consistent basis. So it's useless talking about Domaine and Montots. It's like, myself, I think I've drank maybe in my lifetime less than a handful of Montrachet wines. So it's not really everyday wines. And so people sometimes talk really big in Burgundy, but we're drinkers. We want to drink wines, and so let's focus on wines that we can drink. He's got the expertise, and he knows how to select grapes, how to select vineyard sites, care for them. He's got probably lots of resources in terms of expertise, and he's got care, he's got passion. Like, this is his family estate that he just wants to kind of relax and produce wines that are drinking for people like me, consumers. So he produces both blanc and rouge, and it's now run by his nephew, Pierre de Benoist. Aubert has vineyards in 3 appellations in the Cote Chalonaise. This one, which is Mercurey. Then he has Roulis, which I've reviewed in previous videos, which I'll put at the end of this video, where both Chardonnay and Pinot Noir is grown. And then a region called Bouzeron, which he grows the Aligoté grape. And I have a bottle in Vancouver, which I'm going to review. I've had that bottle with other people. I just haven't put it in a video, but it's a spectacular, another great value wine if you can find it. I believe 2018 was a good vintage, not as good as 2019 for both reds and whites, but decent, lots of fruit on that. So let's talk a little bit about Les Montots and the actual region. It's situated in a fairly steep slope with southern exposure, and the grape varietals that were is Pinot Noir, obviously, because it's from Burgundy, but the stock was from Nuits-Saint-Georges vines, and they were chosen for their aromatic qualities and their moderate yield. So again, the quality that he puts into his vineyard site is probably not what every Mercurey producer puts in. So you're getting a special bottle here. What I find is a lot of times with value Pinot Noirs from Burgundy, they're really acidic to a point where they're not that pleasant. They're light and fairly dilute, and then they're really cherry kind of focused. So it's almost like cherry cough syrup. So that's really what turns people off, and everyone's saying. And even when you buy Burgundy in Vancouver, it's still like $50, and it's like, wow, I'm paying $50 for this, and that's what I'm getting. So that's what turns people off Burgundy. When we talk about pricing in Burgundy, one of the reasons is supply and demand. There's so few vines in Burgundy, and that drives up the price because there's only so much wine they can produce, so they have to sell it at a higher price. When it's really good, it's very aromatic, it's very ethereal, it's got so many great flavors. But when it's not very good, then it can be very light and dilute and not very tasty. But unfortunately, consumers don't know the difference sometimes, and we have to go and taste everything, and most people don't want to spend close to $100 just to try something out. So that's the difficulty with understanding Burgundy. Let's go through the cork and the label and the wine itself. So this is the cork. It is a fairly long cork, so I think that gives you the idea that this is going to be a wine that's supposed to be for middle aging. And then this is the actual label. Very simple, but still elegant. Domaine de Villaine, Mercurey. It's from the Cote Chalonaise, and the actual specific vineyard is La Montots. And this is the color of the wine. Again, I'm not sure if the lighting is totally right, but it is a darker color than most colors that you would have, like most Burgundies that you'd see. I think it does, on the camera, it looks like it's a little bit more browner than it is. I can see it from the light here. It's quite red, crimson red. So maybe I just don't have full lighting on this, but just imagine that it is a little bit brighter than this. It's not that. It looks very old and brown on camera, but I don't think it's that color in real life. Let's get to the tasting of this wine. So I have had it open for a day now. I did have it with some friends, and everyone was surprised at the quality. You know, this is Burgundy, and most people have a certain Pinot Noir, and most people have a certain ideal of Pinot Noir. It's particularly French or Burgundy Pinot Noirs. They find them very light and dilute. And not very tasty. When you're talking about American Pinots, they find them kind of heavy and again, very cherry dominant. So let's take a taste of this wine. On the color, it does not look like your typical Bourgognes wine or even village Burgundy wine, which is much lighter. This is a very heavy crimson red color, and I hope I get this on video. But definitely the color already makes you think, wow, this is a kind of a dense wine. This is going to be a very flavorful wine. On the aroma, it has calmed down a little bit. When it first came out of the bottle, it was much more fragrant with a lot of strawberries and cherries on it. Now we're getting a little bit more floral tones to this. So I would say almost like roses and carnations, that type of springtime flowers. You're still getting a little bit of red fruit on it, but not as aromatic when it first came out. But quite floral right now compared to when I first opened it, which was much more fruity. On the taste, this is what I think people expect with Burgundy, and which you really rarely get with value Burgundy. You get a lot of strawberry notes. So you get cherry. You almost always get a little bit of cherry note, whether it be red or black cherry with Burgundy or wines. But the difference here is you get the predominance of strawberries. You do get cherries, but the predominant first taste is strawberries, ripe strawberries, and there's a really good tannin level. So most Pinot Noirs that are value are very light bodied. This is, I would say, medium bodied, medium tannins, but for a Pinot Noir, quite heavy. And so I think people enjoy this a bit more because it's a more serious type wine. You can have this with food. In fact, I just had it at lunch with pizza. It's fine. It'll hold up. A lot of inexpensive Burgundy will not hold up to that type of taste, that heavy taste. But it's got a lot of strawberries, a lot of fruit aromas, and I think it's got aging potential. I think it's got more to deliver. Right now, it's mostly fruit. It's a 6-year-old wine, but I think it could go another 5 or 6 years easily, and I think it will develop a little bit more savory elements to it. On the aftertaste, there's definitely some chalkiness to it. Almost some soily chalk to it. So that's kind of a neat, peculiar taste. And a little bit of greenness at the end of this, but really solid wine. And to me, this is what Burgundy is about. If people say I don't like Burgundy, please try and hunt out this wine. Again, comparatively, it's not a very expensive wine. I think it retails in the US for about, $40 or $50 US, which is, probably close to, $80, $90 Canadian, something like that. It's not like a $200 wine. Not inexpensive, but really good quality, and a good, for those people that enjoy US Pinots, it is comparable. It's not as heavy and not as sweet I think it's a little bit more elegant, but it does have that good body to it if you think French Burgundy is too light. My rating of this is 91 points. This is a great wine, solid Burgundy. And you can't really ask for more for a value Burgundy. This is kind of an everyday type drinking wine. In terms of taste, it's great. Some people won't like that it's from Mercurey. It's it's too low end for them. It's not even a village wine. That's beside the point. But Villaine is a exceptional producer. So, you know, again, I really encourage people to get around the hype and, you know, don't just read about things. Please taste. And once you taste this wine, I think you'll understand why I love the wines that they make so much, whether it be white or red. I think Villaine makes really accessible, understandable, consumer-friendly wines, which are at this point not too bad. Now, who knows in the future? Will people kind of catch on to this and say, "Wow, forget about the label, forget about the that it doesn't come from Côte de Nuit or Côte de Beaune, you know, just taste it"? I mean, this is a really excellent wine. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Until next time, happy drinking.